Hey guys, Crocheting Connect here. I am doing the knit and crochet tag today. I saw a few people around YouTube doing this over the last week or so, and I thought I'd give it a go today. So there are 10 questions, and so I'll just get right into it. The first question is, how long have you been knitting or crocheting? I do know how to do both. I learned how to knit first before I learned how to crochet. But I decided to get right into crocheting not long after knitting, and then I decided I like crocheting better, so I've mostly done crocheting since I haven't really done a lot of knitting. So I learned how to knit, I think it was back in around 2008, 2009, so about 6 years ago, but I don't think I can say that I've been knitting for 6 years because I have not been knitting for most of that time, so I would say that I've been knitting for about maybe a year, done like a year's worth of knitting, and then crocheting for most of that time, so about 5-6 years of crocheting. Where do you knit or crochet? I mostly do it in the living room on the couch in front of the TV. I like to have something playing in the background while I'm working, unless I'm reading a really long or complicated pattern, then I need like silence to figure it out. But otherwise, I usually like to have something playing in the background, so I usually do so either in front of the TV in the living room, that's where I do it most often, or here in front of the computer with YouTube videos playing or podcasts playing, and occasionally if I'm feeling really lazy, I will lay in bed and have a movie playing on the TV. We have a TV and Blu-ray player in the bedroom. We don't have cable going into the bedroom though, so the TV doesn't have cable. But sometimes I'll put a movie on the TV there and just crochet in bed if I'm feeling extra lazy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Living room, here computer room, sometimes bedroom. When do you knit or crochet? Pretty much anytime I feel like it, really. I don't have any specific time of day or anything, just whenever I feel like picking it up and going, really. What are your favorite needles or hooks to use? Well, I haven't really tried very many. When I first learned to crochet, I learned from watching YouTube videos, and the videos I watched the most were Elizabeth Ham's videos, Beth in Texas 1 on YouTube, and she always used the boy hooks. So I went out to Michael's and bought myself some of those, and I did fine with them, and I like them, so I've just always used those since. And then of course the little steel hooks for thread crochet, but I don't do thread crochet very often because I don't really like working with thread. But so for the most part I use the boy hooks. I don't think I've actually really tried any other hooks. I did try a couple plastic hooks and I didn't really like them, so I mostly just use the boy aluminum hooks. And I usually use like the average sizes, H to J, H to K, usually. Most of the things I make are within there. I do want to try bamboo hooks at some point though, but I haven't. I've tried bamboo knitting needles and I really like them, so I eventually want to try bamboo hooks. But so far I've only really made things with the aluminum boy brand hooks. What is your favorite brand of yarn to use? I don't think I have a specific brand of yarn that I like to use. I do have specific types that I like to use, but there's a lot of brands that have good quality of those types that I like, so I don't really have any specific brands I like, but I do most often buy like Red Heart and Bernat and like Vanna's Choice and those kind of things. I mostly use acrylic. I like the smooth acrylic soft yarns. I don't like to use a lot of animal fibers because they make me feel really itchy. I don't like them unless I'm making an item of clothing that specifically should be in wool. Then like, because normally I just make like hats and things that can be made out of acrylic, so I mostly just use acrylic, and I use like Bernat, Red Heart, Vanna's, those basic yarns. Sometimes I will use cotton for like household items, kitchen items. I don't mind cotton, and I usually use the Bernat Handicrafter for cotton. And yeah, so those are pretty much the brands. What are your favorite things to knit or crochet? I really like to make Afghans. The first thing I ever crocheted was an Afghan. Elizabeth Ham's Granny Ripple Afghan. It was really easy and fun, and I just like making big things. I don't know why, I feel so accomplished after I finish a big Afghan. And there are so many different stitches and things you can use to make all different kinds of Afghans. Like the ideas are just endless. So I love Afghans, and I also like making really quick things like hats and fingerless gloves and things like that. How do you get ideas or inspiration for your projects? I mostly get ideas from the internet. So like other YouTube videos and various crochet and knitting websites like Ravelry and allfreecrochet.com and various pages on Facebook and just things like that. And I get a lot of inspiration from pattern books and magazines too. I love buying crochet magazines. They're my favorite. How did you learn to knit or crochet? As I mentioned previously, I learned via YouTube video mostly. I learned with some books too, but I'm a very visual learner. I need to see people do things in order to learn how to do things myself. So I just like copy what I see people doing. So I watched a lot of videos. The ones I found the easiest to follow were Elizabeth Ham, Beth in Texas one. I'll put a link to her channel down below. She has a lot of really easy to follow tutorial videos. So yeah, I basically learned from videos, and I also bought, when I first started learning, I also bought a couple of books to help me along. They were the Stitch and Bitch brand books by, oh, I forget her name now. But I'll put links to those books in the description down below too on Amazon. I bought the Stitch and Bitch, the first knitting book. I think it was just called Stitch and Bitch. And then I bought the Stitch and Bitch crochet book, which was called The Happy Hooker. And there's a lot of really easy to follow instructions and diagrams in there, and then a lot of really cute patterns. So I'll put links to those two books down below. So yeah, that was pretty much it, YouTube videos and books. How do you store or keep your patterns? I pretty much have patterns everywhere. I have patterns in books. I have patterns in magazines. I have tons of patterns in my favorites in my browser, in my bookmarks there in my browser. I have tons of patterns. I actually sat one day and like reorganized all of my patterns in my bookmarks into like different folders, and I have way too many. And then I also have tons of patterns that I actually downloaded to my computer from the internet, and so I have a folder in my documents on my computer full of patterns. I have magazines, I have patterns that I've printed off the internet and put in a binder. I have just so many. I have patterns on DVDs. I have the Crochet World collection 2001 to 2010. There's tons of magazines in here with tons of patterns in them. I have patterns everywhere. I don't really have a very good system of organization for my patterns. They're just everywhere. And the last question, do you have any other hobbies? I love to read. I spend a lot of my time reading. I spend a lot of my time at the library, and as you can tell behind me, I spend a lot of my time at the used bookstores collecting the books. And what else do I like to do? I like to cook. And I love to bake. I really love to make desserts. And I've kind of gone into decorating cakes lately, but I'm not very good at the decorating. I'm good at the baking, but not so much at the decorating, but I still love to decorate. And to watch TV and movies with my husband. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really do a whole lot of other crafting, except the knitting and crochet and the baking, if you consider that a craft. So yeah. So those are pretty much my hobbies, and that's the end of the tag. Those are all the questions. There were 10 questions. I will put all the questions down below in case anybody's interested in doing this tag. And I hope everybody has a good weekend, and happy crafting.